So you want to think about your triangles, and until we have it memorized, you're like maybe drawing triangles. We've got two options. What's our first triangle? 30, 60, 90. 30 degrees is the smallest angle. It's always across from the smallest side, right? And then what's my pattern for the three sides of 30, 60, 90? Across from 30 is 1. The smallest side is always 1. Then what? Across from 60 is square root 3. And then the hypotenuse is 2. So when we have a 30, 60, 90, we have 3 different measurements. And this is the one that has the square root of 3. There's 3 different measurements. It also counts 1, 2, square root 3. Okay, but you just have to be careful because the hypotenuse is the 2. The other one is the 45s. And that one is an isosceles triangle. So what's the shortest side, the pattern? 1. But there's 2 of them because they're both the shortest side. And then square root 2. So for that one, we have 2 different side lengths. So we have square root 2. This one we have 3 different side lengths, so we have square root 3. If you know those numbers, you can fill in almost that whole chart. So I have the whole chart, not the whole chart, I have the first 3 rows filled in. You can check what you have, but also start noticing patterns, like the sine of 30 degrees is a half. Well, the cosine of 60 degrees is also a half. So those are the same. Just like the sine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. The cosine, or I said it wrong. The cosine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. The sine of 60 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. They're the same. Tangent has 2 sides that are the same. So both cosine and sine are the same. Tangent has got to be 1 for 45. Because both sides are the same, tangent has to be 1. And then how do we get these? Do you have to memorize these 9? You know, you just have to reciprocate all those. I don't have these memorized. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have those memorized. If you said, what's the what's the secant of 30 degrees, I couldn't tell you that fast. I would find the cosine and then I'd flip it. Now, if you have those memorized, even better. But you really just need these 9 to know these 9. But if you know this one, then you should know that one also. And those 3 are easy to memorize. Okay? All right, so we will talk a little bit more about that when we do our notes today. I should open up the notes first. How's your day? Yeah. Okay. Before we even answer these, before you even think about what X has to be, can you go through and put the patterns, like for 45, 45, 90, it's 1, 1, square root 2, right? And then for 30, 60, 90, what are the 3 numbers? How do I know which one's 1? Shortest side, across from 30, right. And then 2, and then square root 3, and 2 has to be the hypotenuse. Do that for the other 4, real fast. We have that to start. That's helping you memorize these numbers. Okay, so as we go through the examples, I already did mine, so as we go through the examples, you can just make sure that yours are the same as mine. So starting at number 1, we have to find the value of x. And you may have been taught different ways of doing this. Today I'm going to just think about it being like similar triangles. So with similar triangles, if I have a triangle that's 1 square root 2, or I have a bigger triangle where one of the sides is 5, what operation did I do to get from 1 to 5? I multiplied. I multiplied by a scalar of 5. That means if I multiplied this side by 5, then I also multiplied this side by 5, and I also multiplied this side by 5. So our x side is 5 square root 2. So we're just doing this with scalar multiplication. So number 2, I'm looking at the side they gave me. They gave me 8, and that is my 1 side. So what did I do to 1 to make it into 8? Multiplied by 8. So if I multiply the middle side by 8, I would get 8 square root 3, and I know that's not the one we were supposed to answer, but I'm just giving you more. And then for the third side, if I take 2 times 8, I get 16. So that would be my hypotenuse. Okay? If you do this a different way, I'm not saying you can't, that you have to do it my way. I'm not saying that at all whatsoever. I'm just giving you another option of different ways to do it. That might help you in the long run in this class. So for number 3, the 12 that they gave me is the 1 side. So what did I multiply 1 by? 12. So then I multiply all my sides by 12. And I get x is 12 radical 2. Number 4, they gave me 24. That's my 2 side. So what do I take 2 and multiply by? How are you getting that number? How'd you know it was 12? You divided, right? Right? You take 24 and divide it by 2. You divided to get that. So the other sides multiply by 12. My answer is just 12, but just for fun, my third side is 12 radical 3. For number 5, they gave me the square root 2 side, which is 12. So I have to take square root 2 and multiply it by something to give me 12. How do I find what I multiplied by to give me 12? What do I have to do here? You have to divide. Right, you have to divide. So you're going to take 12 divided by square root 2. Am I allowed to leave something like that? No. So we have to rationalize. You have to multiply the top and the bottom by square root 2. Gives me 12 square root 2 over 2. Can I leave it like that? No, we're going to reduce it. So you get 6 square root 2. So that's what I'm multiplying by. So radical 2 times 6 square root 2 is 12. So this side multiply by 6 square root 2, and it's just 6 square root 2. Same thing with the other side. And then the last one, 2 is the 18. So I take 2 times what number? 9. So I'm going to take square root of 3 times 9. 9 radical 3. Okay. Having the 1, 2 square root 3 and having the 1, 1 square root 2 is very important. Next. There we go. Example 5, we're going to use a calculator to evaluate the trigonometric function. So how would we evaluate cosine 28 degrees with our calculator? Cosine 28, enter. Let's do it. Everybody try it together. Don't just write down my answer. Now, I got 0.882947 something or another. Did you not get that? You did not? Did you get it? Okay. Did everybody not get it? Everybody got that? I don't believe it.
I got it.
Okay. Okay. Did anybody else get that number? Yeah, so some of you have your mode wrong. Because of whatever you did last year, or maybe your calculator is brand new and that's the mode it comes in. So this is the thing. You know that you have your mode wrong right now because you're seeing me do it. On a quiz, you're not going to see my answer to know that you have your mode wrong. I don't want you to just write down whatever answer you get on your calculator. You have to think about this. We just typed in cosine 28 degrees. So go to our mode and make sure that your mode is in degree mode. If it's in radian, you're going to get it wrong. Like totally wrong. So make sure in degree mode. Now when we do like cosine of pi over 2 or something like that, then you got to make sure it's in radian mode. So you have to know what you're typing into your calculator. So I'm not going to help you on a quiz or a test. So you won't know that you're doing it wrong because it doesn't say, this is radian mode. It's wrong. Okay. So cosine 28, it does say to round to 4 decimals. If you need help with rounding, you come see me. 0.882 what? 9. 0.8829. Okay, question B. I'm going to review that because some of us were asking me the other day, how do you do this again? So I'm going to pretend you don't remember how to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do tangent of degrees, minutes, and seconds. So we're going to type in tangent, and it's 34 degrees, right? Where's mine? Yep. To get to the degree, you go under the angle button, which is second apps. There's your degrees. Then we type in 12, and then minutes is also under the angle button. And then seconds, 51 seconds, is not under the angle button. It's on the main screen, whatever this is called, the face of the calculator. It's alpha, then the plus sign. Okay, how do we round that to 4 decimals? 0.6. Yeah, what do? I go all the way to the end to that 6. I'm going to the 6, and that tells me to round the 9 to a what? We're not rounding to a 0. What are we rounding to a 10. And because it's a 10, I have to carry that 1 over to the 9. Oh, and then that makes it a 10, so I have to carry that 1 over to the 7. So what should I have on my paper? 6800. And these are approximate answers. So you'll see when I do approximately, I'll put that rounded equal sign, which means approximately. Okay, next is cosecant. Do you have a cosecant button like right there in the calculator? Is there a cosecant? There's not. So I'm going to do some work on my paper first, then I'm going to type in the calculator so that you know what we did in class. Don't just type in the calculator, like write down what we're doing. Because there's no cosecant, I can't use it. What is cosecant the reciprocal of? Sine. So I'm going to change this into sine. Cosecant is the same as 1 over sine. But the theta always stays with the sine. The angle stays with the sine or with the cosecant, so that comes down also. So that's also in the denominator. So that's what we'll type in our calculator for this one.